Mom.
Hello, chickens. Can you see me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, we can see you. Morning.
Perfect. All right, guys. So what I want to show you when it comes to simplify, there are three types of questions. Okay, someone's got their music on. Okay, so there are three types of questions. All right. Now, we did type 1 yesterday. Type 1 is where they're just testing your rules. So they're testing your rules. In a type 1 question, you're going to see square roots. You're going to see negative exponents. You're going to see fractional exponents. Okay, someone's banging on the door. Okay, so you're going to see these type of questions in type 1. Type 2, I think we did 1 yesterday, where your bases are going to be only joined by times and divide. And if you notice that happens, we're going to break our bases always into prime factors. Okay, someone's talking, be quiet. And then type 3, which we didn't look at all, but I'll be looking at today, is where you will get plus or minus terms between signs, between the bases, either in the numerator or in the denominator or both, which means we'll have terms. And if that happens, you will always factorize. All right, now in grade 10, you only factorize by highest common factor, but we will also be looking at the difference of two squares and trinomials, which you did not see in grade 10 with exponents. With the difference of two squares and the trinomials, we'll use a method called the K method, which we've seen in algebra. It will help with those two. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you one type 1. I'm going to make it up just so you can remember what I'm trying to say. So, for example, you might have got, I'm making this up, but let's just go 25 x to the 4 y to the minus 1 over, let's say, y to the 3. Guys, don't talk. Under a square root, in a bracket, to the minus 1. Now, I've just made that sum up. Book. Now, you see, you've got negative exponents, you've got square roots, etc. So you see, they're just testing your rules. Remember, I always suggest work inside the bracket first and leave that till the end. So, do you see we're going to jump the line and change the sign of that exponent? So we're going to have under a big square root, in the numerator, 25x to the 4, and in the denominator, you get y to the 3 times y to the plus 1, which makes it y to the 4. Again, keep this to the minus 1 on ice. Let's do the square root of everything, because I can square root everything. You see, the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of x to the 4, you divide the exponents, you get x2, and the square root of y to the 4 is y2. Now, if you have something to the minus 1, then you just flip your base upside down, and then that exponent is positive. So your final answer will be y squared over 5x squared. Don't change these to negative exponents because we're looking at that negative exponent, and to make that exponent positive, which is now a positive 1, except for its ghost, it's a ghost, so you don't have to show it. You just have to flip that base upside down. Okay, so I'm going to tick that. I'm not saying you're an expert, but we have looked at that. Listen to me. I said for homework, well, I said be happy, and then I said if you were interested to, you could try from exercise 2 on page 5. I think I said, and if I'm wrong, I said try 2A, and I think I said E. Now, if I am right, 2E is going to be a type 3, and 2A will be a type. Let's see if I'm right. So for 2A, we have 10 to the power of x, or to the exponent, should I say, of x, times 25 to the exponent of x plus 1, and that is divided by 5 to the x times the x minus 1. Now remember, they're going to say simplify, no calculators, and you leave your answer with positive exponents. Okay, so settle down. You will notice that the bases are all joined by times or divide. There are no pluses or minuses between the bases. It doesn't matter pluses or minuses in the exponent, but between the bases, everything is joined by a times or a divide. Bless you. That makes this a type 2. So if your bases are joined by times or divide, I want you to break the bases into prime factors. You can go 2 times 5. Okay, guys, I don't think that was funny. Whoever put on that music, you're not funny, okay? We're taking this seriously. All right.
Okay,
so the
bro.
base 10 is 2 times 5. We have to the exponent of x. 25, I can just go 5. All right, that's the last warning. I don't want music.
Haja, please mute people.
Sorry?
Please ask Haja to mute people.
Yeah, Haja, if you're there, just mute everyone out.
With your permission, can I block people from unmuting themselves?
You don't have to block anyone. Can you just mute the lesson so you can only hear me?
Yes, okay, ma'am. Just stay quiet.
Okay, man. Okay.
Ma'am?
I did a very successful Zoom lesson with my matrics. We've got nearly 70 on board, and they were as quiet as mice. In fact, I had to check 3 times to see that I hadn't got cut off. You are grade 11, and guys, you actually need to do well at the end of this year because the universities are still going to look at your mark, right? Now, I don't want you to mess around. We'll have fun. I'll have fun, you'll have fun, but it doesn't mean you have to be disrespectful and play music and rubbish. All right, before I continue, 25 degrees 5 squared. So that is my base, but I'm raising that to the x plus 1 exponent. That is sitting over, there is the base 5 to the exponent of x, that's already prime, and then degree 50 is 5 times 10. But 10 is not prime, so let's analyze. It is 5 times 10. 10 is 2 times 5. So 50 will be 5 squared times 2. Now your Casio will do that. If you go to your Casio and go, let's get it. I know they said no calculators, but they wouldn't know. If you just go 50 and you go equals and then shift factors, it will go 5 squared times 2, or 2 times 5 squared. So for 50, we're going to go 5 squared times 2, and that is raised to the exponent of x minus 1. Right, now that I've done that, I hope I don't run out of space. If I do run out of space, I'm just going to borrow some from there. Okay, so now you have base 2 to the exponent of 1 raised to the x. You've got to multiply that. So you're going to get 2 to the 1x times 5 to the 1x times 5 to the 2x times base 5 to the 2. Okay, do you see what I did there? You could have written it as 1 base 5, but you're multiplying 2x and the 2. Okay, downstairs, you've got your 5 to the x times, so now watch carefully, I'm going to do this in one shot. You've got 5, now you're taking the exponent 2 and timesing it by x minus 1. So you're going to get 5 to the 2x minus 2 times 2 to the 2x, no, sorry, 2 to the x minus 1. You see, that 2 as it goes to 1, so it's just 1 times x times minus 1. Okay, I'm just going to go over here. This is where now, it's sometimes useful to take a color. So if you go over all your 2's, look, there's a 2 in the numerator, and there's a 2 there in the denominator. So you write your base 2, you take the numerator's exponent, keep it, and then if you're going to bring this upstairs, you're going to change the sign. So that's now minus x plus 1. Because my aim is to bring everything from the bottom up to the top. So I'm going to change the signs. Now, if you look carefully at the base 5, look carefully. I have a base 5 there, and at the bottom, and there, and there, and there. Okay, so now let's start with the base 5 in the numerator. So the rule says if you have the same base, you add the exponents. So we can only add the like terms. So 2x plus 1x is 3x plus the 2. So we've got 2 plus the 3x. Now, downstairs, we have a plus x. So bring it up as a minus x. And you have plus 2x minus 2. So I've run out of space. You're going to bring it up as a minus 2x and a plus 2. So you've changed the signs so that now at the bottom you have a 1. Okay, let's have a look what happens. You normally find that the base, the variable exponents, they normally cancel. Let's see if I'm right. So you've got 2. You see the x and the minus x cancel, leaving you 2 to the 1. Times, then you've got your base 5. Now look carefully. Do you see you've got 3x minus 2x? So 3x minus 3x, the x's are gone, but you've got 2 plus 2, which is 4. Now I'm going to leave my answer like that, because I don't know what 5 to the exponent of 4 is. It's big. It's 625 times 5, I think. Let me just see if I'm right. 5 to the exponent of 4. Oh, it is 625. And if you times that by 2, your final answer will be 1,250. But guys, I don't know if they left the answer like this in the book, or if they left the answer in exponential form. All right, so now what I want to do to remind you, before I go to type 3, which I haven't done yet. Type 1, they're going to test your rules. Type 2, the bases are joined by times or divide. Break the bases into prime factors. Okay, I'm erasing this, so I can now show you a type 3. Type 3 is where you factorize. So if I do, if I do 2e from the book, 2e goes like this. 2 to the x plus 2 minus 2 to the x plus 3 over 2 to the x plus 1 minus 2 to the x plus 2. Okay. Now, before I start, do you see between these bases I have a minus? Between these bases I have a minus. So you see it's not like this where everything was joined by times. We have terms. So you're going to have to factorize. Now, if you're going to factorize, then step 1, break into factors. So break into factors and then factorize. So what do I mean? So that's 2 to the x times 2 to the 2. You see, think about it. If you have the same base, you would write your base and you would add the exponents, x plus 2. And because they're unlike terms, you can't do anything more than that. There's your minus. Break that into factors. You've got 2 to the x times 2 to the 3, which is the same. If you divide that, break that into factors. 2 to the x times 2 to the 1. That's what that is. Minus, and here you've got 2 to the x times 2 to the 2. Right, so I've broken it into factors. Now, as far as factorizing, do you notice in the numerator that 2 to the exponent of x is the highest common factor? And if you look at the bottom, it's also a highest common factor. Now, remember, you can't cancel across plus or minus signs because I've told you before, a division line is a bracket. So if that's a bracket, then you see you can't cancel across. But if in the numerator, you take out as a highest common factor your 2 to the x, and you do that by division, it would choose that minus, the x would cancel, sorry, and you'd be left with 2 to the 3, which is 8. Here, let's take out the 2 to the x. So in this term, that would cancel. You're left with the 2 minus. That would cancel there. You're left with 2 squared, which is 4. Now, the reason I did that, guys, is now you can cancel that. So 4 minus 8 is minus 4. 2 minus 4 is minus 2, and you must simplify. The quotient would be a positive, minus divided by minus, and 2 goes into 4 twice. All right, so that is your type 3, where your bases, look here, your bases are separated by a plus or a minus, and you're going to always factorize. All right, so hopefully you would have seen that in the answer of your book. I'm not going to do the ones from your book. I'm going to write down what your homework is, but I'm going to use different examples as a learning channel. So I'm still going to show you examples, but for your homework, you can go to your page 5, and you can do from exercise 2, then you can do B and C, you can do F, G, and H. All right, so that is your homework. All right, now if you've got a pen and a paper, I'm going to put this example for you, all right? So I'm going to say simplify, no calculators. Okay, if I grade this, it's level 2 easy. And I'm going to give you 2 to the exponent of n dot, which means times, 8 to the n plus 2 dot, 4 to the minus 3n over 2 to the minus 2n. For let's say 3 marks. All right? Now, before you do it, look at the question and think to yourself, is it a type 1, 2, or 3? Well, I noticed that the bases are all joined by times and divide. So do you all agree this is what I'm calling a type 2? If it's type 2, what is your aim? Now, if I hadn't muted you, I would ask you, so your aim is to break your bases up into prime factors. 2 is, you've got to break 4, 2's prime, and then see if you can finish that. I'll give you 1 minute to try and finish that. 1 minute. All right, that one wasn't hard, so you should have finished it. Okay, let's have a look. So you've got 2 to the n. I'm going to break 8 to 2 to the 3. Guys, I never jump that step. Because if you jump that step, you often make careless errors. Okay, 4 is 2 squared raised to the minus 3n. And you see, because that is a negative exponent, and these are joined by times, I can add this upstairs, make the power positive, and then the whole thing is sitting over a ghost 1. Did someone call me? No. All right? So we've got 2 to the n times, distribute, multiply, 2 to the 3n plus 6. Times 2 to the minus 6n and times 2 to the 2n. Okay, so every base with a 2, well, guess what? They're all 2s. So this is even easier. So you write your base 2, now add your exponents. You can only add like terms. So degree 3n plus 1n is 4n, 5, 6n. Minus 6n, so the n's are gone, but you're left with that 6. So you're going to get 2 to the 6, so your answer is 64. Okay, did you get that? Well, I wouldn't know. I muted you out. All right? Now, I only muted you out today because you were being naughty. All right? Hopefully tomorrow, we won't mute you out, so you might want to ask questions. But guys, I'm not going to have music, and I know that you're doing that on purpose. There's some of you who kind of like messing around. All right? So tomorrow I will ask Haja not to mute the lesson, but the minute I hear music, I'm going to mute it out. All right, so lamb choppies, if I now go to another example, but it's still, I'm going to give you a clue, it's still going to be a type 2. Why? Because the question's going to read 9 to the x minus 2 dot 10 to the x minus 2 over divide 6 to the x minus 4 times 15 to the x. All right, you see it's type 2. The bases are joined by times and divide. So what's our rule? Break the bases into prime factors. I'll give you 2 minutes to try this example. All right, 2 minutes. I'm letting.
Ma'am,
Yes?
please, may you mute the group chat because people are sending messages that are distracting and interrupting your lesson.
Okay, so what are you saying? People are now sending messages.
Yes, please, may you mute the group chat.
Okay, grade 11s, stop sending messages, all right? There are some people here who are really trying their best to actually learn something, all right?
Ma'am, when they
Yes?
send messages, you can't see the wake anymore.
Right, so when you send messages, then it interrupts the lesson. And guys, listen to Tanaka, because, you know, I mean, you all know he was in a car accident. He was on the brink of life and death. And here, God has sent a miracle, and all he wants to do is learn. But it's not just him. I'd say there's 90% of you that want to learn. 10% of you are just not actually interested. And I promise you, we will work out who are sending the messages. Haja and I will work it out. And we will then actually just take you off the group. So this is your last warning. And I hate to be strict because, as you know, I like to have fun. But if you are going to mess around, then we will just take you off the group. This is
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So now listen, whether you're finished or not, watch me. 9 as a prime number is 3 squared. And if we raise that to the exponent of x minus 2 times 10, I can only change it to 2 times 5. Prime, 1, 1. But then that is raised to the x minus 2 over 6. I can change that to 2 times 3. They each have a first one, prime, prime, raised to the exponent of x minus 4. And lastly, 15 degree is 5 times 3. If I write that base as a prime factors to the exponent of x. And remember, that has a goes 1 and so does that. Now listen, I know where you guys go wrong because I am one of the people who mark the tests and the exams. This, most people will get right. You know you've got to distribute, multiply it. So it's your base 3 to the 2x minus 4. But this is where a lot of, so please watch. Step 1, you write base 2. Now, because that 2 has an exponent of 1, you times in 1 by that exponent to get x minus 2. But then you've still got the base 5. And you've got to times that exponent. So you're going to get x minus 2. So you see 10 is 2 times 5. But it's 2 to that exponent times 5 to that exponent. Do you see that? I know a lot of you would have gone wrong there. It's going to happen here as well. So it's 2 to the exponent times 3 to the exponent. So you're going to get 2 to the x minus 4 times the base 3 to the x minus 4. And then you're going to do it again here. So you've got the base 5 to the 1 times x is x times the base 3 to the 1 times x is x. Okay, you've done well. You must have at least 50%. Let's now end this. Now, to help you, what might be a good idea is to use colors. So wherever I've got base 3, okay, let's make that green. All right, so there it is. Let's base 3, the numerator, keep the exponent same, 2x 4. Now, if you're bringing this up, then you reverse the signs of the terms. So this is going to be minus x plus 4. So that x becomes minus x, that minus 4 becomes plus 4, because I'm bringing it from the bottom to the top. So if you jump the line, you change the sign of the exponents. Do you see this 3 to the plus x? Do you see it's going to be minus x? So I jump the line and I change the sign of the exponent. Okay, we don't have long. Now we've got the base 2's. So look here, we've got a 2 there and a 2 there. So times base 2, write that as you see it, x minus 2. And here, you've got to bring it up. So that becomes minus x. And that minus 4 will become plus 4. Okay, I've run out of space, but I'm just going to make this. So if you now look at the base 5, all right? Base 5, in the numerator, you've got x minus 2. And in the denominator, bring that up minus x. The denominator, everything's come up. So now it's just a ghost 1. So you've got the base 3. Do you see the 2x cancel with the minus 2x? So you're left with minus 4. Times 2, the x's cancel, so you're left with plus 2. And then with the 5, the x's cancel, you're left with minus 2. Now, if I have done this right, all right, let me just see there. Okay, something's gone wrong with the 3's. Let's just check I copied the question down right. Okay, 3 to the 2x minus 4.
Ma'am, I know where you ma'am, I know where you went wrong. So here where you were busy simplifying, ma'am, where it says 3 to the power and times 2, where your hand is, where your left hand is, where your left hand is right now.
Yeah.
Not your left. That's your, yeah. It's minus 4 plus 4, which means that the 4's cancel
I see
out.
what you say. Minus 4 and plus 4 is naught. High five. Okay? Minus 4 and plus 4 is naught. So you see 3 to the naught is 1. 2 squared is 4. And that is 1 over 5 squared. That's over 1. So the final answer in the numerator, it's 4 over 25. So that is the answer. And then that would give you another mark. I'd say there's the mark allocation. Okay, I just made a silly error there. Thank you for the advice. Now, I'd like to show you at least 1, if not 2, type 3's. So just look at, again, the type 3. Remember, type 3 is where you get pluses or minuses between the bases. And then you have to factorize. So the example I'm going to give you, I'm going to make up. So you won't find it there. So let's look at a type 3. They're going to say simplify, no calculators. And I'm going to give you 2 to the x minus 1 minus 2 to the x over, and let's go 2 to the x plus 1 plus 2 to the x minus 3. Now, do you see the bases are joined by times or divide? So we've got to factorize. But if you're going to factorize, first break into factors. What do I mean by that? Well, 2 to the x minus 1 is the same as 2 to the x times 2 to the minus 1. Because then you would go backwards to that. So very quickly, because I'm running out of time, we've got 2 to the x times 2 to the minus 1 x over 2 to the x times 2 to the 1 plus 2 to the x times 2 to the minus 3. Do you see the numerator? That is my common factor, and in my denominator, that is my common factor. So in the numerator, I'm going to take out 2 to the x. You do it by division. So that cancels, and you're left with 2 to the minus 1 minus. Now, if you divide this term by 2 to the x, it goes once, because it cancels once. Over, take out 2 to the x in the denominator, so that divides, and you're left with 2 plus, then that would divide out, so you're left with 2 to the minus 3. In a pencil, that cancels. Now, you cannot jump the line, change the sign of the exponents. So what you can do is that is just a half minus 1 over 2 plus 1 over 8. Okay, so you see, you can't bring that up. A half minus 1 is minus a half. And 2 plus 1 over 8, well, that's